Fantastic. Live. Live and direct. Right. Check that's all working. Good afternoon. Afternoon, Big Al. How's it going, mate? Good, I hope. Hope you enjoy your weekend. Wet the whistle. Right. So many screens and things to look at today. So whether you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, hello and welcome to. Um, I don't know actually. I don't think this is my first ever one, but certainly the first one I've done in about I don't know 10 years or something, a really long time. So yeah, wherever you're watching it, if it's on Facebook, then how you doing? You probably know who I am. For those of you, if you're watching this on YouTube or watching it later or whatever, and you don't know who I am, then my name is Jimmy, and I've been teaching guitar for about 10, 11 years now. Um, Specialize in like kind of rock and metal stuff mainly. But of course, I'm happy to answer any questions about absolutely anything that you guys chuck at me. Um, yeah, anything guitar related or anything um, you want to hear, or not not song wise, not a jukebox. Um, yeah, but yeah, any questions, just go ahead, fire away. But I'm going to get round to answering the questions that have already been sent first, if that's all right. Um, so I'll check those ones out first of all. Hopefully we have time. Got about 45 minutes or so. Um, Maybe go on a bit longer if we need to. So yeah. If you don't know who I am, Jimmy, and I've been teaching guitar lessons in Southampton for about like 10, 11 years or so. I don't really do much of the online thing, as you can probably tell, uh, just from my nervous disposition and the fact I don't know what the fuck I'm doing half the time. And that's in real life too, not just online. So yeah, yeah. If there's anything, play Wonderwall. Cheers, Al. Um, no. Um, so yeah, to those of you who don't know me, thanks so much for checking this out. I hope you find something helpful and useful. And like I said, just pop us a question. And if you do know me, again, thanks so much for checking this out as well. And to all you guys that have had lessons with me this year, thank you so much for your trust and for your your support, quite frankly, because I kind of I don't know if I'd have been able to carry on doing what I love doing, and I don't know if I'll be able to carry on teaching without your guys' support. And again, thank you so much for your trust and everything you've done this year. Honestly, I'll get choked up already. God, and it's only 20 past 3. But no, I sincerely mean that. Thank you so much, because I would have been screwed without you. So many of you guys and girls decided to keep doing lessons all through lockdown, and obviously we had to change from doing in-person lessons to doing this kind of thing. So doing like lessons over Zoom or like FaceTime or Skype or Facebook or whatever. And some of you guys just wanted me to like check in with you in the interim between lessons and stuff. So that was really cool. That's been an upside of it is getting you guys to send me videos of you playing and songs you've been doing and stuff. Um, and I love that. That's one of the best parts of my job, to be honest, is checking out you playing and yeah, and giving you guys feedback on your playing over the videos and stuff. Um, and obviously, it's really pushed me out of my comfort zone as well. I'm not great on camera. I don't really like doing videos and stuff necessarily, but it feels so much easier when there's like interaction and stuff happening. Because it's just like chatting with a mate, or chatting with some mates and that. So again, thank you. I genuinely mean that. Thank you so much. I didn't end up homeless this year. Fantastic. I know I look a bit homeless. Um, it's a joke, by the way. I often crack funnies, so I don't feel nervous. Hello, Stu. How you doing, man? How's it going, mate? And see you for ages. Um, will Gibson ever be great again? Hmm. I don't know. Do you mean because of the troubles they've had this year with the whole play authentic thing and everything? I don't know. Um, Personally, I think it's been so the way they've handled it has been a bit cringy, and um, when they started having all those like around sort of 2015, 16, and then after that as well, when they started having all those like QC issues and stuff, I can imagine and I can totally see why loads of people were a bit hesitant to you know brand their headstocks and show off the fact they're playing Gibsons and that as well, because I felt that way. I don't even own a Gibson anymore, but I certainly felt that thank you, Robbo, hope you're having a nice day too. um, yeah, I certainly felt that if I was a Gibson guy, then I probably wouldn't feel too proud of the fact that I was playing Gibson after all that bit of media and PR shitstorm really that they were having. So anyway, yeah, bit of a shame. Make some lovely guitars. What's your favourite Gibson guitar? I'd love to have a Flying V. I really like SGs as well. SGs and Les Paul Custom would be the best one. But yeah, now looking on eBay and stuff as well, how do you know what's not a knockoff one and what's a genuine thing? What's an authentic thing? Play authentic. What a knob that guy was, eh? Or is. Anyway, yeah, so going off topic there, but thank you so much for your question, and thank you for saying hello. Um, yeah, so I'm really proud of like all the stuff my students have done this year. And again, thanks for sticking with me, guys and girls. Some of you guys have made such big like leaps in your playing, and I cannot take full credit for that. Obviously, that's you guys just like practicing and working your asses off. So well done. Stu's still got his L6S. That's I love it. How old is that guitar now? That's got to be like 40 something years old, hasn't it? 45 years old, something. I don't know. I'm so glad you still got that guitar, mate. That's brilliant. Um, yeah, and the songwriting stuff that people have sent me and like videos they're playing and that, I'm well chuffed about that. And really good that you guys and girls get out your comfort zone doing that kind of thing and don't feel nervous about posting like videos to me or in the group or on YouTube or Instagram, wherever you post them. It's really good. Anyway, I waffled on for about 10 minutes. I'm so glad that people are watching this as well, because otherwise it would be lonely this Christmas, as Elvis said. Right, so I'll crack on. 1975, that guitar. So, what's that? 45 years, yeah. My maths is rubbish. Cool, right. So, God, my eyesight's terrible. I'm going to zoom in on these questions and stuff here. And I do apologise because I've got about 5 screens open at the moment, so my computer will probably die. Oh, you can't hear that either. Oh, you can. A little bit of latency on that. Never mind. Anyway, hopefully you won't have to hear me playing. That would be horrendous. Save your ears. So first of all, I had a question about improvisation. I had a couple of questions about improvisation actually. Here is my question. What are some strategies for practicing in improvisation? How do you work on making it sound like it's going somewhere? I think in the beginning I start off okay, and after 20 minutes or so, it's not the same. That's a good thing, surely, if it's improvised. Um, so yeah, improvisation obviously a huge topic to get into. Um, it's something I do really like talking about. However, I think we'll be slightly limited for time, so I can't go on too much about it. So improvisation in terms of like jamming and coming up with fresh ideas um, is yeah is great, and it should be. Well, I think personally, it should be something that everyone kind of works towards, whether you're doing, um, if you just want to play covers or you just want to play in band, write your own stuff. Like either way, improvising, like solos or writing, is all part of the creative process. And obviously, um, I'm a real strong advocate for being creative. Um, but I suppose one thing you can, well, there's loads of things you could try, I suppose, but one of the first things you could try is to not stay in the same area, so not stay in the same pitch range so much. So again, knowing a little bit about like scales and a bit about fretboard knowledge and stuff will massively help you make it sound like you're not repeating yourself over and over again. There's nothing wrong with repeating yourself over and over again, but try to vary the phrases. So try and work on like things like call and response. And one thing that a lot of people struggle with, and something that I struggled with definitely to start with, was playing like the chord tones. So don't just play a bunch of like licks and phrases and like scale runs and stuff just randomly. Try and work on targeting the notes from the chords you're playing over. So again, having a good ear and like having a little bit of knowledge about what notes are in what over the chord you're playing, and knowing a little bit about intervals and note function, all that kind of stuff really helps as well. So when people say like things like, "Oh, you can't really teach people to be creative, and you can't really teach like improvisation," we definitely can. So just reeled off a load of things there, but um, a lot of it is about melody and is about coming up with like melodic phrases and not thinking in the box so much. Try to think of like I use this analogy all the time, but think about how singers approach phrases, um, and try to make it sound like melodic, because that won't get boring. So how many times do you hear like singers repeating the same kind of vocal line, same melody, and then you hear like other instruments repeating it as well, and that doesn't get boring. Um, so try and treat your guitar more like that, kind of like take a more melodic approach to it to start with, and you probably won't run out of ideas. And if you do repeat yourself, and that is not necessarily a bad thing, um, but yeah, get out your box, get out of the comfort zone, explore other areas on the guitar. That's one option. Yeah, improvising doesn't just mean like you're just kind of making it up as you go. It's that you might have some sort of pre thought out ideas that you then play, um, because you're playing the phrase you're on, and then you're thinking about what to play next, sort of like subconsciously almost, I suppose. Um, Try and like plan it out a little bit more in advance, maybe. It's not quite the same as, well, yeah, it kind of is the same as improvising. You're just thinking about it a little bit ahead of time. Another thing that I teach people to do is to practice with limitations, instead of like saying, right, okay, we're going to play in this scale, and we're going to, use the notes from this scale to play over this chord progression or whatever. What I try to do is go, well, let's limit that. Let's imagine that, someone's come along and chopped off like, five of your six strings, and you're only left with like the B string on the G string, and you have to find the notes that you want to play on that string. It's going to make you play a lot more like, it's going to make your approach a lot more creative. I think that's massively underrated as well, playing on one string. It's kind of what you do as a beginner when you start out. I know I did play like riffs on one string, and try to figure it out. And that's kind of like, But learning scales and stuff, that you're taking that linear approach, I like that. You can see the intervals, you can see how far apart the notes are on a string, map them out that way. But that aside, sorry, taking like limitations. So instead of taking a scale box, just take one string, or like take one finger, because then you can't do like just linear succession of notes with fingers. You have to use one finger to slide or like bend, things like that. Um, and also, like, from a mindset point of view, don't think of it like noodling. Don't think of it like you're just noodling and kind of making stuff up. Try and say something. Try and be expressive with it. Approach it from that mindset as well. So yeah, practicing limitations, and um, yeah, having a slightly preconceived idea about where it is you want to go with it as well, and know your theory, know a little bit of theory as well. That goes a long way, actually. Um, cool. Right. Any other questions about improvising? I kind of put these into sort of an order to start with. It's not going to stay that way, obviously. I don't mind. So if anyone's got any questions as well, just on that same topic or whatever, just feel free to bung them in. So another question about practicing. You talk about practicing versus playing, and I'm working on that. What are practical ways of making the practice more enjoyable and keep making progress with things like technique and theory? Um, so when you practice, I think a good approach to take is to obviously decide on what it is you want to work on, and there's three areas you kind of want to be working in at all times, and you can do those at the same time, or you can spread it out a little bit. So those three areas, I call them like, technique, theory, and creativity. Or you could think of it like, the physical side of playing, like the technique, or the mental side of it, which is more like theory and understanding fretboard and your instrument and stuff, music theory, and like that creativity, emotional kind of stuff is more like a style thing, isn't it? Like what kind of style you want to do. Um, practical ways to make playing more enjoyable. Bloody hell. From a mindset point of view, just enjoy the process of practicing, because that's where you make all the progress. You absolutely make 100% of the progress from all that time you spend with the instrument in your hands. So enjoy that game, enjoy that side of it, enjoy the practicing side of it. Don't see it as a chore. Don't see it as like something you have to endure. Try and enjoy, actually enjoy practicing, and you'll make progress. Like um, the guy that another teacher that I really admire, a guy called Levi Clay. You should check him out. He obviously teaches a lot more kind of like country and blues and jazz. That's more his thing. He's sort of gone away from the metal thing a little bit these days. But the other day on the Guitar Souls podcast, he was talking about this, something similar to this anyway. And he said, if you did nothing else but just spend all that time with a guitar in your hand, then you will just get better. I think there's a time and a place for working on taking the things you need to work on, um, taking the things you need to work on, and isolating those areas and drilling them. But that doesn't have to be like boring, does it? It doesn't have to be something you have to endure. You should try and enjoy doing that as much as possible. At the same time, like, what is it you want to do? If you want to be creative, then you can spend more time doing songwriting and like coming up with riffs and ideas. And I mean, that's always fun. That's always more enjoyable, right? Doing that side of it. So um, when you're getting better and better on your instrument as well, it's just like, it's really addictive, because you start to see and hear that you're making more progress, and that in itself becomes addictive. It's like a game. So you kind of want to do more of that. There's something I have to do here. There you go. I don't know what I've just done there. I've never added a guest to the broadcast. This is on Facebook, by the way, for anyone else watching. Um, so I just added Paul there. So I think one of the best things you can do as well is to do whatever you like, enjoyable. Hello, Paul. How you doing, mate? um, so if there's something you really enjoy doing, I would say just do more of that. So if you like jamming along to stuff, then just do more of that. Um, if you like playing scales up and down, then do more of that. So whatever it is you enjoy, just take a nice big sort of now is it. Just got to turn that off there. Whatever it is you enjoy doing, make time to do more of that. And one of the ways that you can get really good at really quickly is by putting the songs that you're learning on and jamming along to them at like different levels of learning. So what I mean by that is if you've only learnt the intro, like the verse or something, just keep jamming over and over with it. Like do that more and more, and that's going to kind of build up your confidence, and that's going to like kind of get your foot in the door, and then you'll want to do even more. Right, I'm going to smash this chorus. I'm going to learn the chorus now. I'm going to learn the solo. The more you get used to playing along with other stuff or playing along with other people and that, rather than just working on scale sequences or working on things in isolation all the time. I mean, literally in isolation as in on your own. It's a bit hard in it with COVID and everything at the moment, getting out jamming with other people, but try and jam along with stuff as much as possible, because that's an enjoyable way, or something I find enjoyable anyway. Make time to do more of that. However often you practice, whether it's like every day, week, month, year, whatever. Yeah, 100% jam along to the songs, even if you're not 100% with the songs yet. Um, just do it. Enjoy the process, not the result. Enjoy the process of practicing. Don't think that that you're going to be happy once you've reached that goal, because you probably will be, but it'll be really short-lived, and then you'll want to do something else. If someone, I say this story all the time, if someone had told me when I was 14, 15, and Mr. Stuart McLachlan can back me up on this, if someone, when I started playing guitar when I was like about 14, 15, if someone had told me that in 20 or 25, 26 years later, I'd still be learning stuff, and that I'd be nowhere near as good as I kind of, should be, how, in terms of how long I've been playing, I'd have fucking given up, because there's always something to learn, always something to learn, which segues quite nicely into your question there, Stu. Have you learned anything from your students? I learn from them all the time, whether it's a different way of approaching something musically that I maybe not thought of, but also when I started teaching as well, innocently, I think I was going about it like I was trying to make, well, I wasn't trying to manipulate, but I was trying to, I failed to see um, a lot of the time from the students' point of view where they got their enjoyment from, and I just assumed that everyone wanted to be like a professional guitar player and play in a band and do that whole thing, but that's not true. Perhaps I could have said that from the get-go and said I only work with people that want to be professionals, but the thing is, the vast majority of people I've worked with just love playing for fun, and I think I was a bit too serious. And so what I think a lot of my students have taught me over the years is to not fucking take it so seriously and get back to having fun with it. And that's been a huge, huge thing that I've taken away from it. And when I listen to like their compositions and their songs and stuff, like that inspires me massively, because that was one of my goals when I started playing guitar. As you probably remember, Stu, when we were like that age, it was like, oh, immediately wanted to write my own music. I didn't want to. I hardly ever learned any covers. I learned other riffs and stuff, but I just wanted to dive straight in and write music and stuff. So when when students send me their stuff, or when I listen to their compositions and that, and see the finished product, I'm completely like blown away by that, really, because and really inspired by that, because it reminds me of the reason why I got into it in the first place, and they kind of keep me on track. But yeah, aside from that, like I would say, pretty much every week I learn something from them, even if it's just like a bit of like course correction for myself, like try to um, approach teaching in a slightly different way. I was lucky because obviously I worked in education for so long that I knew that there's no two people that learn exactly the same way, so that was lucky. um, but yeah, yeah, again, just knowing that people don't learn the stuff in the same way or the same fashion, that you don't have to, as long as you're having fun and enjoying it and you're making progress. That's the main thing. Here's a question about practicing like specific techniques. It's the longest What's the longest you would spend practicing a technique? um again, I personally don't divvy my time up into like sections and go, well, in this section I'm working on technique, this section I'm going to work on theory. Um, I try to be creative, and I try and make music, and I try and like integrate all that stuff together now. Obviously, the way I practice now is completely different to how it was when I started, but I would say, and going back a few years when I was playing live a lot more as well, that I would just practice the songs. So I practiced the stuff that I had to do. If I was recording, I practiced the stuff over and over again. It's a different way of practicing for those things than it is just practicing to know your instrument or get better on your instrument. Um, so I think also like specific techniques are different. So some techniques you can get down pretty quickly, and others take a really long time. I try not to practice one technique to the exclusion of everything else. Like, when you see people practicing their like sweep picking or stuff for about like 6 months and they don't make any progress on it, I think it's better to practice other techniques as well, not just focus on one thing. So focusing on one thing and having a focused like mindset and being determined and consistent, and that's completely different, in my opinion. It's completely different. Don't Mastery is something that just takes a really really long time. And like I was saying, to Stu's question as well earlier, like I do not consider myself a master of anything, um, at all, because I know that there's still so much more to learn, and there's so much more. I could be so much better at stuff than I am. Um, so yeah, it just takes a long time. Just enjoy it. just enjoy it. But also like watch out for like injuries and stuff. If you're practicing, like I remember when I was in Meta Prison um, with those guys, and Ollie, the other guitar player, he was telling me about this 90-minute like legato workout. And I was like, yeah, I'll try that. And he said, try and do like break it up into these sections, do all this, but like, God, I think I nearly gave myself carpal tunnel doing that. So maybe don't do that unless you're really warmed up, of course. Woo. God, I reread. I'm not hot. I think it's just this camera makes me look really red. Sorry, that was my lunch. Cool. Next question. Oh, and this one actually is about. Oh no, sorry, I missed one. Um, next one's about the fretting hand. That one's not. Sorry, this one is about practicing techniques Is it better to practice lead guitar techniques every day, picking, sweeping, legato, or should I just focus on one technique per day? Like I just said, don't practice one thing, practice different things. If you're practicing something over and over again, there's like the law of diminishing returns as well. So your mistakes start to compound and you start to get like almost worse at it the longer it goes on. So just fucking go and have a cup of tea or something, or do something else and come back to it. Don't just keep hammering it over and over again, and don't just practice one thing. Try and practice like lots of things. So if you're practicing like playing along with songs or something like that, something you enjoy doing, you're learning lots of stuff at the same time there. So this is another question about the left hand, or fretting hand, we should say, for any of you lefties, left-handed people, that is, not political persuasion. Is do I always have to use the 4 fingers, 4 fret position with 1 finger per fret, thumb resting, or is it perfectly? Oh, sorry, I missed a bit. Perfectly okay to put the thumb over the neck. Yeah, I've changed my mind so many times about this, and like there is no one size fits all perfect hand position. It completely depends on the situation. So if you're doing if you're doing something like scalar, I would say, then yeah, you probably want to do like one finger per fret. So if you're doing like an A minor scale like that, for example, my guitar sounds like a robot for some reason through the speakers. Then you probably would do like 1 finger per fret, assign 1 finger per fret. But I know personally loads of players that just use those 3 fingers. And I think all you have to do is pretty much watch any of your guitar heroes, and you'll see that they don't all use that 1, 2, 3, 4 approach to things. So whatever works for you, it doesn't matter. Andy James, who's like a phenomenal metal guitar player. He's an educator himself as well. He's done tons of work. He's just become like the new guitar player in Five Finger Death Punch as well, and that's massively deserved. He barely uses his pinky, and people give him shit for it all the time. And I'm like, how can you criticize this guy's technique? He's a phenomenal player, not just like a shredder. I mean, like his phrasing and stuff is amazing. And he's a kick-ass guitar player. He's one of the tightest guitar players on the planet. He's now playing for one of the biggest metal bands on the planet, and you still get like people on Instagram or whatever, or like on his videos going, "Oh, you only use 3 fingers." Who cares? Who cares? And the thing about the thumb over the top of the neck, well, I say this to my students all the time: try doing a bend without putting your thumb like over the top of the neck and really like digging in. Really like hearing that screaming bend. Try doing that with like just your fingers. It doesn't work. So there's like different hand positions for different things. It totally depends on the technique that you're doing. Completely relies on what you're playing, the situation you're in. There's like the classical position, isn't there? I suppose you could call it that. And then there's like more rock and roll kind of stuff. So neither one is right or wrong. It's whatever one you want to use for that particular situation. Cool. I'm just going to check on the old Facebook side of things. Any of you guys got any other questions or anything? Feel free to type away. How long we got left? I don't know. I'll go on as long as I don't mind. As long as you guys don't mind. And let's just look at these ones. I've got another question about lead guitar stuff here. So How do you mute the strings when playing sweep picking? I have troubles getting the arpeggios clean with the rolling technique when doing an arpeggio. Have you had problems with this, and and if so, is there a good way to fix it? um, Practice it a lot. It's kind of like the answer to everything, isn't it? Really, practice it a lot. So if you're doing something like an arpeggio where you've got, let's do a three string arpeggio. Let's just do like a major, like an A major arpeggio. Don't know why I've got robot latency on this sound. I'll just do it sort of semi clean there. So what I'm doing anyway, I'm playing the 14th fret on the G string, 14th fret on the B directly after that, and then I'm playing 12 to 17 on the high E. So that's an A major arpeggio. In order to do that, you could use two fingers. You could use like your middle finger and then your ring finger and then your index and so on. You could do that, but what a lot of guys do is they, and I do this because I'm just lazy. Even that makes it harder. I know Jason Richardson is again another phenomenal metal guitar player, and he plays like all his arpeggios like with separate fingers and alternate picked. Like I suppose he kind of got that idea from like John Petrucci or someone, but insanely good, insanely good. I'm not there yet. It's something I don't practice that much actually, or at all. But yeah, it's not lazy doing the rolling thing at all. It's actually harder in some ways to get him to sound clean. So, which camera? Let's look at this camera. So, what we're doing there, if you want to isolate that, um, you can actually, if it's with your, depends which finger it's with your index finger, doesn't matter which finger it is. Try and isolate it and just practice the rolling technique on just two strings before you do it to three, because you're using the tip of your finger and then you're rolling down onto like this bit just above the knuckle when you're rolling through. So when you're doing it on like, so if I extend that arpeggio onto, if I extend it onto five strings, for example, you've got to roll across the D, G, and the B string there. So try not to overthink it is a good one, and also try not to like overdo it. Just let your knuckle let your knuckle collapse across the strings, um, and the moment you've left that string, kind of release the pressure off of it, because the reason it doesn't sound clean is because the notes are bleeding together. So that's why, you know, dudes like Jason Richardson or John Petrucci or whoever can make it sound super clean because they're using separate fingers. You don't have to do that. I'm just saying, the way to fix it is just by isolating it and practicing it over and over again. You can always send me a video or something if you want me to have a look at that. Same goes for any of you guys listening, watching this. If there's anything, you know, like we can resolve in a few minutes, I'm happy to do that. If it's like a bigger thing, then maybe book in for a lesson or something in the new year. I'm not going to do any lessons from, well, I'm finishing on the 23rd. I'm going to have Christmas off. Oh, Big Al's asked a question. Oh, mate, what are your guitar goals for the next year or two? Well, funny you should say that, Alex, because I was talking to a couple of students on Friday about this, and again, sort of goes with what Stu was asking just then about like what do I learn from my students, and I've always been someone who said, oh, you know, you've got to have guitar goals, you've got to have these things that you want to do, and that and work towards those goals. And over the years, I've kind of become a bit like I don't know, a lazy hippie about it. I suppose things I really just don't really do it for me anymore. I don't need to be driven by what my goals are. I kind of get driven more by the fact that I'm enjoying what I'm doing for a start. But I did actually write some stuff down the other day. Like I said, it was Friday. I was talking to some students, and some of their goals were like, you know, learn more theory, learn these songs, learn these techniques, practice finger style. learn about like Led Zeppelin or whatever, or like Metallica, or learn about all these bands and like study songwriting and creativity stuff. And someone asked me the same question. I said, my goal has always been to try and express myself through music, as cheesy as that sounds. So once we get back in a jam room and stuff, and once I'm able to like play with other dudes in a band again, that can happen. So writing as well, but also I think, I don't know if it's just because my mate Stu's been on this call and I've known him for many years, but probably to go back and revisit some of the stuff that I used to be able to do in the songs I used to be able to play and the stuff I loved when I was a kid, because that will kind of fire me up, I reckon. And it's just fun. It's just purely just for fun. That's it. To have fun. To have fun with it. Economy picking or alternate? Both. Is the short answer to that. Why not? For some things, I do economy picking, and some things I do alternate picking. I don't think you have to be one or the other. I think it's really good to mix it up. I'm assuming you mean for lead stuff, obviously. Not doing that many economy picked riffs, are you? Um, so both. I do notice that because I don't know if this came before or after I was watching the Troy Grady videos as well, cracking the code on YouTube. If you guys haven't checked that out, you're into like picking mechanics and stuff. It's really interesting. Troy Grady, his name is. Um, so I angle my pick in a certain way. Some you can angle it up or you can angle it down. But I noticed that when I'm descending, like scale runs, for example, so descending, going like up the neck, up towards the ceiling, I point my pick in a slightly different way, and I do a lot more economy picking that way. But I don't know if that's because I'm starting on an upstroke. I do that a lot. I start a lot of lead stuff on an upstroke, even some rhythm stuff. I start with an upstroke. I remember one of my guitar teachers, again when I was a kid, saying to me like, "Yeah, why do you start with an upstroke?" And saying you'll never amount to anything, basically. I don't know, gave me a complex. But there's nothing wrong with starting on upstroke. Some of the phenomenal guitar players I know, not that I'm comparing myself to them, but some phenomenal guitar players I know start with an upstroke. Paul Gilbert starts a lot of his licks on an upstroke, and he always used to say that in his instructional videos. He'd say, starting this lick with an upstroke. I was like, oh, okay. So I just kind of did that. So it sort of turns into economy picking if I'm doing like 3 note per string stuff sometimes. Um, it depends. I think you can squeeze out a couple more notes per minute if you're into that kind of thing with economy picking. But then there's some, like I said, Jason Richardson, John Petrucci, loads of those guys, Paul Gilbert again, absolute shred monsters with the alternate picking. So yeah, why would you say one or the other? Just do both if you can. Some situations you might decide to settle on one, but I don't think there's it's one either or. Why not do both? Um, the rolling technique when on the same fret, I can't understand how it works. So what you're doing, just to go back to that previous question, is you're playing the same fret on adjacent strings with the same finger. So you have to roll, so you have to collapse your knuckle to be able to play the next string down in a sequence like that. Yeah. Explain more about upstrokes for downstrokes. So when you're trying to get your like downstroke stamina and speed up, one thing that I really recommend doing is practicing upstrokes for a while. So try like because it uses completely different motion, and you're practicing like the recoil motion. So when you're doing this one, you're kind of bouncing on the string, whereas this one you're fighting through the string. You have to pick through the string. to get back, to exit, to get back up. And so if you keep doing that, you feel the tension and the it's in the receptor muscles or something, but you feel tension in the forearm more. But then when you come to do down picking again, it will feel easier. So um, that's what I like about that, is the fact not only does it feel easier, but you're practicing that recoil motion more. Um, that's why I reckon you should do that. Palm muting position. I rest my hand on the bridge, turn it over onto the strings for palm muting. Is that okay? Or should I be more on the strings? Should you be more on the strings? Well, if you go too far onto the strings, you can hear like it changes pitch. So you want to be, on most guitars, you want to be in that gap between the first pickup and the bridge. And there's a nice size gap there for the side of your palm. So that bit there, or you can go a bit higher, which is something I noticed that I do recently. Again, something that was pointed out to me by someone else. So I find that kind of sound is a bit more bitey, and that's the sound that I like. So what I'm doing there is I'm muting more with almost like a bit of my pinky on the gap, on the string, sorry, between the gap, on the gap between the pickup and the bridge. I'll get there in a sec. So that's how I do it. So if you're resting on the bridge and then you turn it onto the strings, we try that. Okay. That didn't sound right, did it? Yeah, I don't do that. I come across, like I said, just off the bridge onto the strings. If that works for you, that's fine. If you're using a guitar like a Floyd Rose, I can see why you would do that, because obviously if you put too much pressure on the Floyd Rose, it's going to make it go out of tune. How do I use modes? We've only got about 15 minutes, dude. So, modes. How do you use modes? Well, again, it comes down to what you're trying to say and what you're trying to play. So, moods are like modes. They're their own thing. They're not just a bunch of scales that you have to go away and learn. Modes are different sounds. If you think about like the sounds that you're already familiar with, perhaps like major and minor, think of them like they're on a spectrum. And then, so at one end you got happy and one end you got sad, major and minor. And then in between that, you've got all these different types of emotions, all these different types of moods, and all these different types of modes. And so that's what they are. They are the different degrees, if you like, of happiness or sadness, or like light and dark. So you would use modes, I guess, to say, you know, to put the mood across that you're trying to put across. You can tell I haven't prepared an answer for this one, can't you? It's a bit more complex than that. I know a lot of people refer to like modes as like, you know, the major scale shapes and all that. That's not what they are at all. They're sounds that are derived from the major scale originally, because all our scales and music, at least in the Western world, comes from the major scale, doesn't it? So modes are sort of like variations on that, variations on the major and minor scale, if you want to think of them like that. Might be worth popping me a private message, a direct message. Might be able to explain that one a little bit better. But yeah, essentially that's what they are. There's a bit of a misconception there, isn't it? That there's something that, yeah, you'd use them to put the mood across that you're trying to say. Sorry. And should I practice? Same person. Sorry. Should I practice scale sequences and other mode shapes? Absolutely. So if you've learned so this assumes that you're doing 3-note string kind of stuff, I guess, or scale sequences. So yeah, so if you learn a scale sequence in one shape, one key, definitely try it with other ones. But again, that's modes. Modes aren't scale shapes. Modes are sounds. Might have to do a part two on that one for you. Um, yeah. Any others on the Facebook? Hey guys, you're being very quiet over there on the old Facebook. So there's another question here anyway. Should sorry, that's read that one already. Should I learn three string or five string sweeps? Both. And you're not learning sweeps, you're learning arpeggios. So sweeping is the technique that you're using to play the arpeggio. In terms of practicing your sweep picking technique, I would concentrate on doing. I was talking to someone on Thursday about this as well. Actually, I said to him like concentrate on just doing free string sweep stuff because more than likely that's what you're going to be doing, unless you're going for that big kind of like five string repetitive, like kind of almost hypnotic um, fruit machine style sound over and over again with your five string sweeps. Just learn three string arpeggios for now. You can sweep through them, but yes, sweeping is just a technique to play um, your arpeggios with, isn't it? You can play your arpeggios with alternate picking. Again, guys like Jason Richardson, John Petrucci, um, Paul Gilbert, again, using alternate picking a lot of the time, or a combination of alternate picking and hammer-ons and pull-offs to play their arpeggios. Um, yeah, cool. How much time we got left? We've got a bit longer. I'm going to whiz through a few more of these if you don't mind, unless you guys over on Facebook have got anything you want to say or ask and that. Please go ahead and do so. I'm just going to crack on a couple more of these. This question's brilliant. What do you do if you're not in the mood to practice? Do something else. Don't practice. Have a cup of tea. Go for a walk. I don't know. I don't force myself to practice if I'm not in the mood to do it. Although that said, again, if I had sorry, my battery's going. Um, what was Paul's question? Can someone just remind me? And I'll get to that next. Um, so yeah, if I'm not in the mood to practice, I don't practice. Simple as that. If I've got a deadline, if there's something I absolutely have to do, not crackly lead sound then I do it. I force myself to do it. If I was writing something as well, that's a bit different. I would make myself write. Um, what's the best way to start learning solos? That's spooky because the next question on here as well is sometimes when I learn solos, I go blank on certain bits, but I can play the rest. What's a good strategy to remember bits? So there is no best way to learn solos. There's there's certainly ways you kind of want to avoid, and I would say one of them is not breaking it into chunks. So I always say this, like a solo is like a song within a song. So just how you would learn like the intro, verse, bridge, chorus, blah blah blah, all the bits of the song. Learn all the bits of the solo separately. So break it into sections and just work on those bits. And then when you're ready, learn on those bits in isolation. And when you know the next bit as well, try and glue them together. Then that becomes your chunk. So you learn the first phrase or the first lick, learn the second one. It doesn't have to be the first one in order. You can learn them kind of like one of my teachers said, like, we were struggling, or I was struggling, he wasn't, but I was struggling with his solo, and he said start with the last lick and work backwards. So I learned the last bit, and then I learned the penultimate lick, and then glued them together, and I did that way. So again, that's a completely different approach, but um, the best way to learn them is obviously to just do it. Just start learning it. Make sure that if there's techniques and stuff you haven't quite got down or don't quite understand, make sure you've got them first. Don't practice it with mistakes as well. Do it right and keep doing that over and over again, and you absolutely get there. We're so lucky these days. Obviously, you can just slow stuff down on YouTube. I think Paul, in particular, was someone who didn't realize you could do that, and that's a fucking game changer right there. I remember having one of those like CD players that you could slow down, and that was huge from a training point of view. Training my ear, especially, it's all good. Just practice it really slowly and feel it and get the groove and the timing and the phrasing right and everything. Speed will just come with time. Don't be in a rush to play it fast. I know I've said about like 5 different points there in one sentence, but take it real slow and steady. And again, just enjoy it. Make sure it's a solo you actually really love and want to learn, because you'll be a lot more inspired and motivated to do it, be a lot more driven to do it anyway. Um, as for remembering bits and then or forgetting bits on the solos or whatever, that just tells me that you haven't learned it properly yet. Um, just got to keep doing it more and more. Sometimes it takes people a bit longer. I know that as I get older and my brain's deteriorating, that I can I struggle to remember bits and bobs sometimes. So just repetition and consistency, going over and over again. Um, what's this one on Facebook here? Sorry, I'm just trying to scroll on the screen here. How long we got left? Got a few minutes left. I can probably squeeze a few more in. Thank you so much for today, guys. I've actually really loved it, and this was kind of impromptu, I know, but what's Stu saying here? Sport for choice these days when it comes to learning resources, saving up for a tab book. Yeah, same here. There's the way I used to learn, but there's so many. Yeah. Tab books were not cheap back in the day. Still not cheap now. Like you, I relied more on my ear, so I learned 90% of stuff by ear. I was shit at reading tab. I couldn't read music, and well, still can't read music properly now. But that very short time we were at college, I could just about get by. Um, but yeah, ear training, and or even buying like magazines and stuff was expensive back then. Still is now, I guess. But yeah, you guys, there's never been a better time to learn it. Never been a better time to learn an instrument than there is now. You guys are also spoiled. We all are. Um, Speaking of getting old, that's a good segue again. Here's the next question. Do you think being an older player makes it harder to learn to play fast? I know there's a few people watching this that want to know that. Um, do you think being older makes it harder to learn to play fast? Do you mean learn to play fast, as in learn to play the instrument like in a shorter space of time, or do you mean learn to play fast? Because I think if you're an older player, yeah, it's just going to it's just going to take you a bit longer to get things and for things to click together, and that's fine. It's just part of being old, isn't it? It is what it is. Like I didn't start some of my I've been training martial arts since I was a kid, I suppose, but I had a massive break, and then when I got back into it, I was like, why can't I do this anymore? Um, and now there's things that I'm trying to learn, like in new styles, that's new for me, and it's really hard because I'm not young anymore. um, but the only thing that is limiting you is your mind. That's it. You're as old as you think you are. If you say no, I'm not too old to do this, then you're right. But if you also say, yeah, I'm too old to do this, then you are right as well. You've got to be really careful what you tell yourself in your mind. That's huge. But that's another topic for another day. All the mindset stuff. Yeah, you're never too old. But physically, yeah, there might be some kind of limitations and stuff. If you're talking about like shredding, playing older, being an older player, sorry, but absolutely not. But like we were just discussing then, like there's never been a better time. There's so many resources and stuff out there to help you. It's ridiculous. How have we got time for? Yeah, should we stay on? Yeah. Has anyone on Facebook got any more questions as well? I don't mind staying on a bit longer. I can go over for a little bit if you guys want. Um, if you're enjoying this. If not, I'm sorry. Just listen to me waffling on. Well, this isn't a question, I don't think, but it's a nice message. Hi, I start with you in January, so thanks for squeezing me in. I found the videos really helpful. Do you plan to do more stuff on, say, YouTube? Do I plan to do stuff on, say, like videos and stuff? Yeah, maybe. If I'm not too lazy. I like I said at the beginning of this video, like I really much prefer the stuff that's interactive. I don't like having kind of almost like a scripted thing. I don't like having it planned out too much what I'm going to do. I really like just talking to people. So if I do some more YouTube video stuff, it'll probably be a lot shorter than this for a start. But yeah, I guess I probably will do some more stuff on YouTube, some more lesson stuff. But I'm probably going to do some more playthroughs and like just for fun, and my own stuff eventually as well might make its way on there as well. Do you improvise or write solos? Both. Again, going back full circle to the first question about improvisation, like yeah, learn to improvise and be creative as well. Don't just like try and bolt licks and tricks and scale sequences and stuff together. So sometimes I think stuff is better when I compose it, and then other times I think it's better when I improvise it. And there's been times when I've improvised stuff and I've listened back to it, like I've recorded it, and I've been like, Jesus, how did I do that? And then I kind of have to work out how I did it. And to be honest, that's some of the best stuff I've ever done. Is just where it's like subconsciously it just happens. But yeah, I like composing. So yeah, in answer to your question, both. Do you change pickups for soloing? Do you prefer to use the neck pickup or bridge pickup? Both. So yeah, if I get past like the 12th fret, I find that the neck pickup sounds nicer. Doesn't mean I use both. I use both. Cool. Any other questions on Facebook? Or I'm going to go and start my Sunday dinner. Thanks so much for sticking around and watching. Yeah, it's been nice to hang out and just do something different on a Sunday. It's pretty cool. I hope it was helpful. I hope it wasn't too waffly. I'm going to shut these. I'm going to start shutting down these screens now. But yeah, if anyone on Facebook wants to say anything, yeah, cheers, G. Thanks for coming along, mate. Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. Really enjoyed doing that. I'll do it more often, especially like in the new year. I think get Christmas out of the way in a good way, not in a horrible way. But yeah, I'm going to take a bit of time off over Christmas, these next couple of weeks or so. Yeah, and then I'll do some more videos like this in the new year. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for hanging around. Thanks to everyone who wrote in over the week to ask questions. Thanks to everyone watching on Facebook and YouTube. Cheers, guys and girls. I'll speak to you soon. Lots of YouTube, folks. Yeah. Cheers, man. Take care. Speak to you soon. Bye.